Hello and welcome to the video featuring the highlights of the Cranberry Weed ID Guide. My name is Hillary Sandler and I'm the Weed IPM Specialist at the UMass Cranberry Station located in East Wareham, Massachusetts. The identification guide for weeds and cranberries was published in 2015. We are very indebted to the authors of the French version. They took most of the photographs and were the originators of the format and the layout for the Weed ID Guide, and they were very gracious to allow us to reuse a lot of their information to produce this guide in English. If you don't already have a guide, you can purchase one through the CRAAQ website. Printed copies are available for $37 and digital versions are available for $28. You could also contact the UMass Cranberry Station if you're local to the area, as we have guides on hand as well. Also, a special thank you to our sponsors whose financial support enabled us to be able to publish this guide. We used the same color scheme for the English edition as was found in the French, and basically the plants are grouped according to their morphological characteristics, and these are color-coded. The maroon will signify information in general in the beginning and at the back part of the book, and then the plants are grouped into either light green, dark green, blue, orange, or purple sections so that you could easily locate what kind of plant you have based on the color of the page. So here's an example of a plant that's in the purple section, the miscellaneous. You'll see the name of the plant up in the upper right-hand corner. If it has any other common names associated with it, those are also listed, the genus and species, as well as the family name, the photographs, some captions describing what you see in the photographs. There's also in the colored bar towards the center of the page, there's an indication of whether the plants are native or introduced to all the particular cranberry growing areas and what time it blooms during the year. So the general layout within the botanical description, these characteristics are always listed in the same order. They always go describing the leaves, stems, flowers, fruit, seed, and the method of dispersal. If we knew the number of flower parts, according to Newcomb's Wildflower Guide, we listed those. Any measurements of plant parts greater than 5 millimeters are presented in both English and metric units. And sometimes there was some supplementary information that's highlighted in bold under distinctive features or notes within the botanical description. And we also present information on favorable growing conditions, prevention and suppression. And a new feature that we put in the English guide is the similar species. Because sometimes when you're out there, there's a couple of plants that look very similar, so we've listed the distinguishing characteristics that would help you tease apart when you have very similar looking plants to figure out exactly which one you do have. I also wanted to mention that we have specifically not put in any chemical recommendations because chemicals can be available differently in different states or regions, and also chemicals can come and go, and we really wanted to preserve the usefulness of this guide as long as we could, so we specifically left out chemical recommendations. Here's an example of some of the new illustrations that you'll find in the English version. This will help you identify plants because one of the first things that we recommend that you do is look at leaf position, whether they're alternate, opposite, or whorled, and then also if they are simple or compound leaves. So this shows most of the general descriptions and arrangements that you might see on plants that you're trying to identify. The native and introduced regions or states there's abbreviations that are in that center colored bar, and so they could either be listed by U.S. states, and the Canadian provinces are sometimes grouped together depending on how the plant has been listed by the USDA plants database, or it can be by separate province. The priority ratings is a feature that's found in the back part of the book. And there are 4 different criteria that we went and we evaluated each weed species according to its impact, its biological form or type, its invasive reproductive capacity, and its adaptation to cranberry habitat. Now, within each of these criteria, plants were given a point value, either 1, 2, 4, or 8 points, kind of going from lowest impact to highest impact. And then these 4 criteria, the point values, were all added together to give a final priority rating. And this was developed so that growers could try to prioritize the impact of weeds when they're formulating their integrated pest management programs and their management programs for weeds. They would be able to, if they only had a certain amount of time, they would be able to say, okay, this is definitely the weed that I'm going to try to manage on this particular farm in this particular year. So when you look at the pages in the Weed ID Guide, you'll see these squares, and so I draw your attention to the upper left-hand corner for Dodder, where there's 4 squares up there. And a quick visual glance tells you that this is a very high priority weed, and if you see this out on your farm, you should be very, very concerned about it. So just to mention, there are 4 groups, and these are based on point values, total point values. So plants will either be a low priority with 1 square, medium, high, very high, and these are noted by the number of squares on each page throughout the weed guide. If you go to the back of the book, you'll see these priority rating pages. So for each weed that is in the guide, you could quickly assess how we arrived at those point values and what the priority rating is for that particular weed. And this system is also quite nice because if in your particular situation you might rate the impact higher than we did, or its adaptation to bogs lower or higher than we did, and so you can see what we listed and then you can adjust it either up or down according to what your situation is and make it either a higher or a lower priority for your farm. The features key is new to the English version, and we won't spend a lot of time here, but basically this is not a typical dichotomous key, but it just gets you hopefully down to about 3 or 4 different choices, and then they should be different enough that when you look at the photographs, you should be able to hone in on the plant that you're trying to identify. And we plan to put out another video on using the features key in more detail. So thank you for viewing this video. We invite you to go to our website, ag.umass.edu/cranberry, for more information about the station or information on purchasing a guide through us if you happen to be somewhat local, or we are actually able to mail them to you for additional shipping charge if you do live a distance from the Cranberry station. So thank you.